Welcome, UCB Sunset. Welcome to the 2016 Cracked Oscar-vaganza, which is a portmanteau of Oscar and extravaganza that sounded a lot better in my head than it does out loud. Joining me on stage is cracked video writer and font of sexual charisma, Mr. Alex Schmidt. Schmitty the Clown. To his right, your left, cracked head of video and all-around big swinging Mr. Daniel O'Brien. And the brilliant and hilarious on Twitter, novels, and real life, Leanna Maybe. And for the first time on a Cracked podcast, you know him from feature films like 21 Jump Street and Oscar nominee The Big Short, Mr. Stanley Wong. Woo! As I mentioned, we're going to be discussing the Academy Awards, asking questions like, how do they always get everything exactly right?
Perfect every time.
We're going to talk about some of the controversy. We're going to talk about, we're going to be imagining an alternate Oscars that's a little bit more fun, where in the Razzies and the Oscars are sort of collapsed. So you get the best of, you get the worst of, and where we get to make up all the categories.
The Walk screams that to me. It's Zemeckis, it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, it's
Josie Gordon-Levitt.
Pre-9/11 Twin Tower thing. It's like everything that is like, these are a bunch of things that modern Americans are supposed to think are very important. And it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt doing like, I am a French and I'm going to walk across the thing. It's like, oh, he's doing an accent. Oscar.
Right.
Nothing. It's so very clearly like, it's not a story that anyone wanted to tell because Man on Wire did it way better. It's already like a well-covered territory that is so much better. So the only reason you do this movie is for money and for Oscars. And I don't think either.
And I don't think they got either.
So even if you hadn't seen the documentary, the trailer doesn't give you any reason to watch that movie because he starts out and he's like, I'm going to walk across the Twin Towers. And he meets some friends in New York. And you don't need to, you can pause the trailer right there because you know he doesn't fall off the wire. Like there's no, I'm not compelled at all to watch it because a movie where it's like, I'm going to walk across the Twin Tower, we'll see, and then he falls off in the middle. That's a bad movie. No one's going to make that movie.
Most years, this award borderline gets given to certain performers. When they made August Osage County, like I saw the trailers for that and everything coming out about it, and I was like, oh, if this doesn't get 15 nominations, they know they blew it. Like this purely exists for everyone involved in it creatively to get awards, and a couple people did maybe.
Actually, now I just remembered, the director of August Osage County did do Burns.
Yeah, do we have a clip of that director being sad? Can we roll?
This would be, I guess, the honorary Edge of Tomorrow category, Lifetime Achievement. I wanted to nominate The Walk, first of all, because that could mean any thing. But also, Bridge of Spies is a really bad title, and nobody else agrees with me. No.
No. I didn't.
It makes me think of spies like interlocking arms and like.
Right. I didn't even think of it as a bad title until you sent it along because I was so busy focused on like the pedigree of the talent behind it. But then it was like, oh yeah, a movie called Bridge of Spies, and then like Tom Hanks. That doesn't fit. That's no good.
And it's also sort of misleading because I have not seen the movie, but from what I hear, it's really less about spies and more just about like a bridge.
I have seen the movie. I don't think there is a
mostly
single
about a
spy.
bridge.
Is there?
Right.
I don't know.
There's the one guy.
No, it's a literal bridge of spies. That's how we got all the way to Europe.
Best titles. The Revenant is a nice word that apparently isn't made up. That's a real word from many years ago.
Yeah, you guys aren't privy to the truly like organic moment that happened backstage when we're talking about good titles. So we're like, you know what a good one was? The Revenant. Yeah, Revenant. Ooh, Revenant. Perfect title. So poetic. What does it mean? Oh, I don't know. Nobody knows. And then our engineer told us what it means, and we were like, Oh, that is a good title. That is appropriate.
Ghostly Apparition.
Yeah,
Brett, by
yeah.
the way, was totally making that up. He's a pathological liar. I've always said that about him.
I, for a long time, thought Carol was a Christmas movie for like a while.
It
and
came
then-
out in December, I think.
That must
Yeah,
have
it's
been a
right
great
around
Christmas
that
Eve with your
Oh,
family.
it's in December with both.
I like again, Jack, that you brought up The Wire for, The Walk for bad title, because that's what I just want to on this movie all night apparently. But that's what I imagined the Zemeckis was thinking. Was like, all right, it's this guy. He's like, he's a man on wire. No, can't do that. Can't do that.
Right.
All right, let's call it The Wire. Ow, fuck. What about like Walk Hard? Damn it.
Even Bridge of Spies is taken.
That also makes me realize Spike Lee must have been so mad about Brooklyn. Like somebody just like, that should have been mine. Like,
This is a personal issue of mine, just in general. I will say that never in the history of the world has a person said, that was too short. It's never happened.
Right.
Everything is too long. And I think that there are so many movies that get ruined, that are so close to being very good, and then they're just 15 minutes too long, and you leave just like grumpy and throwing popcorn. So I think the movie that best fits, like its, I will almost say platonic ideal of running time should get an award.
Right.
And this year, I think that movie is actually Mad Max. That movie, Mad Max, is exactly 2 hours. And you have to imagine George Miller was like, this movie should be 2 hours. And then it came in at exactly 2 hours. And it should have been exactly 2 hours.
Yeah, he seemed to know what he was doing on that one.
100% of the way.
Just an hour out, an hour coming back the other way.
Round Trip was the alternate title.
It really is leaps. I'm in complete agreement with you on this. That I felt like almost every movie that ever exists now is too long. And
We
like,
just
like,
hate movies, you guys.
I do, yeah. I'm a busy guy. Like
Not a
like
fan of your point.
But-
there was like a very clear. This is not this year, but going back to like both Funny People and Wolf of Wall Street were two like standout movies where I was like, man, perfect ending. Time to okay. Oh, he's on a boat now. He does boat stuff now.
And like this year, for worst running time, I think it has to go to The Hateful Eight, which I remember watching that movie, sitting there and feeling like I could have cut 9 minutes out of the first 10 minutes. That movie just would not end.
Which, Mitty, you said, and this might be controversial. You said the tight version of Hateful Eight might be his best movie. Do you
I
feel
think
that way?
he did when they were in the cabin and when things were happening and when it was tight. There was a lot of great acting and a lot of he did the Nerdist talked about how he put a lot of thought into blocking in the movie. And if you watch, like, there's a lot of scenes where the focus is on one person and then something else is happening in the background that works and complements it. And if he just kept it that short and also condensed a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the, like, especially in the carriage, there's a lot of like, hey, I do know your backstory. And like, it's not like super helpful.
Oh, that's right. You
but
just mentioned it a half hour ago.
But if he just went into it like, I'm going to make an amazing play, which is the thing that I've kind of been doing in a lot of the pieces of my movies, especially like the first chunk of Inglourious Bastards, that could, I think people would have come away from it like, he super nailed it. And also he should like change it up and do a big blockbuster. But instead, I feel like he made maybe his worst movie, which all his movies are good, so that doesn't mean it's terrible, but it felt like there was tightening that could be done.
Yeah.
Especially just the long shot of two horses breathing. I don't know. It's fine.
The bear from The
bear
Revenant.
from The Revenant
But
would take it.
I'm pretty sure it's not a real bear. I mean,
Why are you doing this to me?
I mean, okay, I don't want to ruin it. I don't know for a fact.
All right, then fine. Tom Hardy. I don't know.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, this category should exist for nothing else than that little, he's now dead, sorry to be a downer, that completely dead dog from The Artist a couple years ago.
Uggy.
Uggy, yeah, that dead dog. That was an incredible dog. That's some of the best dog acting I've seen since that dog from Frasier, it's also dead.
Dan's just gonna run through a bunch of
Yeah.
lovable animals.
Marcel
that
from
died.
Friends, probably dead. Same Capuchin from Outbreak, so that's like two birds.
I didn't know what any of those words meant.
It's a monkey from
The bird from Polly, dead.
Up next, we got best and worst casting, which is actually one that just feels like it should exist, and would also be really fun because at the awards they could like show the tryouts from the people who they didn't cast to like really drive home like how good the casting actually was.
Like the in memoriam montage, but it's for people who
Careers.
just didn't get these roles.
It's David Arquette being like, I'm the Revenant. Most, if not all, movies have tremendous plot holes, and I think there's special credit due to the movies that make you not realize them until much, much later. Like when I saw, what is the one that came from my brain, so I shouldn't have to look it up. Oh, Dark Knight Rises. When I saw that, the entire time I was thinking, why the fuck is any of this happening? Why did all of the police go into the sewer at the same time? Why can't we call another police force? What is the time span? How did Batman get his back broken and then fix it in the same time that nothing happened in Gotham? How is literally anything? How do they plant bombs under the football field? This is what I'm saying out loud in the theater alone while I'm watching this. There's the same amount of plot holes in Star Wars The Force Awakens, but I'm watching that movie just being like, look at that little robot ball rolling around, thumbs up, look at how much fun everyone's having. Like a day later, I'm like, oh sure, none of that made sense. Why did everyone converge at Maz Kanata's place at the exact same time? But I think it's really a testament to the strength of the spectacle of Star Wars that I, a curmudgeon, forgot all of those things. I didn't notice all of those things in the moment. It shouldn't be Best Picture, but it is due credit for lulling me into stupidity.
An example of a best lie would be the movie The Revenant. The main character is like just going because like he's just mad that they took his shit and he like they didn't kill his kid and he just like goes and he's like, hey, give me back my stuff. And then they're like, oh, okay, wow, that's impressive that you came all this way. And he's like, all right, let bygones be bygones. And that's it. And
It's like a Woody Allen movie.
Right, yeah. It's a pretty sharp lie, pretty sharp idea to make up his son. Worst lie, I think, has to go to Titanic, so there's this character who works on the Titanic, who at one point in the movie, I think like tries to shoot women and children as they're boarding the lifeboats or something, and he like pushes a woman and like jumps in the boat. And for some reason, he's like, my name is, and gives his full name. That was a real guy on the Titanic.
Kid Rock?
That was a real guy on the Titanic who like actually like used his body as a bridge so like people could get on the boat, and they were just like, oh, let's just pick a random name and just completely shit on him and villainize him. And like Neil deGrasse Tyson was like, the stars aren't right in the sky of Titanic. And it's like, well, what about this poor guy whose entire legacy is completely ruined?
Well, especially because it is a period piece based on history, but they could have just made up a guy for the role of total monster on the boat. Like they could have just been
It could have been easily like, my name is Snidely McSuggins. Like a legal name. It's fine, do that.
I would say I don't know if it's best or worst lie, but I don't know how much y'all know about The Social Network in that like, that movie's like almost all a lie. And like, if you think about like the base of what that movie's about, it's about...
$1 billion isn't cool?
No, Justin Timberlake was completely right about that. But no, like, the fact that he like betrayed his friend and, you know, like kind of pushed him out of the company. Whenever I read, they were actually not friends at all, which kind of like is a different perspective on it. And the reason that he pushed him out of the company was because he was a shitty CFO. So he was just like, he did it on purpose, and he doesn't try to hide that at all. That and the girl, Erica Albright, they use it to good effect as like, oh, he started this because of that, and then it ends with him, I guess, trying to add her as a friend. But actually, he had the same girlfriend even before he created Facebook, and it's the one that he's married to now. So like those two elements were like kind of like the biggest story elements of the movie.
Right, those are the humanizing moments of Mark Zuckerberg for the movie, and it's like, Aaron Sorkin was like, I want to get at the human side. Oh, there isn't one. He's just a robot. Okay, I'm gonna make up the human side.
Well, I saw Concussion. Me and Adam Ganzer, director, we saw Concussion, and it's about, no one saw it, so I'll tell you what it's about. It's about Will Smith plays a doctor who did a lot of the early work discovering CTE and head injuries that professional football just creates in you by playing it. But there's the movie opens on the actor David Morse playing a former player named Mike Webster, and the way he goes through all these different things from CTE make that problem very human in a way that like tons of studies and news reports on it, and just like the eye test of seeing two NFL players hit each other's heads, like doesn't convince you, and it's amazing. And then the rest of the movie, just straight down from there, just really doesn't work very well at all.
And it's interesting you mentioned Concussion because the big diversity thing, they're saying like it should have been nominated, but it didn't, right?
Yeah, and Will Smith isn't bad in it, and his accent was a lot better than I had heard. It was pretty good.
But
the movie overall just doesn't
or?
play very well.
Ooh, he should have won the accent award.
Yeah.
Wasn't that like kind of made up? Like I thought I heard the guy and he like didn't sound like that.
I haven't heard him. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
The real guy was like, tell the truth, tell the truth.
Something that like I had always known that people said that the Academy was a bunch of old white guys. I didn't realize it was 94% white, 76% dude, and average age of 63 years old. Which is insane, but it also like makes so much sense.
If the average age is 63, that means that there are some guys who are like 95 who are voting.
Yeah. There are literally two people in the world who were still born in the 19th century, and I imagine they are the president and vice president of the Academy Awards currently. They're both 116.
Right, and it makes a lot of sense. Like a bunch of the kind of bullshit wins in the past, like Forrest Gump won over Pulp Fiction and Shawshank Redemption. And like if you think about Forrest Gump, like if you're 63 today, you were born in math.
1830.
Yep. So like Forrest Gump is just a tour of like every big news event that happened in your life, like set to a sick soundtrack that you're gonna like.
Right, you've got two movies to vote for, and one of them is Shawshank Redemption, where it's like, we need to completely re-examine our prison system, and this is like totally wrong, and the justice system is wrong, this is broken, I'm feeling a lot of things. And then the other movie, Elvis, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. The moon.
Elvis? I like Elvis.
Well, and then they saw Pulp Fiction. They were like, as much as I like the Gimp scene, I cannot vote for this film. I just can't.
I feel like there's a long-term Anglophile like bias with like Chariots of Fire and King's Speech. And,
A king's stutter is not a real conflict to me, it turns out.
They probably would have just fought the war, even.
I mean, I guess, yeah, Crash went over Brokeback Mountain, but is it like, do you think like the mostly white people just being like, okay, this is our bad, we're gonna give you this one, like.
But we're gonna give you this one to like the movie directed by a white guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Written and directed.
Crash got an award because it was like the whitest painting of race relations, because
Yeah,
it was
actually.
very clumsily handled, and I enjoyed the movie when it came out because I was a child when it came out. But the way that movie handles race is like the message at the end is, you know what? Everyone's racist, and that is a rough message to
Whereas,
send out.
yeah, like movies like Do the Right Thing came out in 1989 and was about racism, and people were like, "You're too angry, Spike Lee. Nobody would ever have a race riot." And then the LA riots happened like a year later.
And for context, what won that year, Jack?
Driving Miss Daisy.
Oh, interesting.
Right. With the moral that you should just let a racist like be racist to you, and it's kind of funny. Like, I feel like Creed is the Do the Right Thing of this year because the only nominations that Do the Right Thing got were Best Original Screenplay, which is just like coolest movie, like the best movie, but we're not gonna say it. Is basically what that award means. And also Danny Aiello was nominated.
The one white person.
Right,
in
the
that
one
movie.
white person who had like a speaking role, and they
Well,
were
I guess
like, "Ah, he was so good."
He comes on screen, he's like, "Oh my God, a race riot!" and he runs off. Academy Award nomination.
I actually think the bigger one this year for me is, well, first of all, I would once again nominate the bear from The Revenant, add a little color. But I also I feel like Beasts of No Nation was the overlooked movie this year, and like that was the movie. Like Idris Elba was fantastic in that movie. Like there's no way he shouldn't have been nominated. Everything about it was just fantastic, and I feel like people were just afraid to see it.
It's a bummer when it's like, here's Beasts of No Nation about black child soldiers, and you have to confront a lot of issues like, you know what? I'm going to nominate Joy. The struggle of one white woman to invent a mop. This is where I think we're at right now. I also think we don't totally know how to fix things yet, and I'll call out an elephant in the room right now that we're talking about race being a problem in Hollywood, and you are listening or watching a panel with 4 white people out of 5.
Yeah, you're
talking about
ruining
why I
it.
think like there's no way I can't not address that. So I don't have all the answers, but most of them. It's always a troubling thing because the Academy came out and they are responding to this hashtag Why So White Oscars movement that's happening, and they said something like, we're going to address this and we're going to have more people of color on the Academy Awards board by 2020, which is a phenomenal step, but I don't know if it'll fix it. I feel like there are deeper problems in terms of, this is something that George Clooney brought up, who again, elephant in the room, is a privileged white man, who is saying that the real problem is that we are just not making, there's not like enough prestige films for people of color in movies. Like that is the large problem that's happening right now. The problem isn't that, we can't say there are 10 phenomenal actors that were overlooked because of race this year, but we can absolutely say that there are Oscar-worthy roles written for Leonardo DiCaprio and Eddie Redmayne every single year, and have been and will be forever. And that's
Right.
sort of like the heart of the issue that needs to be addressed before we change the staffing of the Academy Awards board.
Right. Or at the same time. But
I mean both. Yeah, we can fix all of it if we want.
Yeah, or not even written for Leonardo DiCaprio, but that's another thing that was pointed out, is that you don't see black actors nominated for roles that could have been played by a black or white person.
Or Asian, or Hispanic.
Or Asian, yes.
Throwing that out there.
Which is something that I know you've brought it up on the podcast before, and I've brought it up to strangers that I pass on the street. That I think the Hamilton musical will do great things. That's a complete colorblind casting of Hamilton, with people of color playing every founding father there is, and I think that's just a lesson.
So nice living in a post-Hamilton world.
Oh my God, it's so great that we can just say like, do the thing that these guys did. But it's true. It's like we can stop looking at parts like Revenant as, oh, this is for Leonardo DiCaprio. It would just be, who is the greatest actor right now that could fill this role? It doesn't matter if the source material was a white person or black person or whatever. Let's just like get the best part. Let's just stop. Let's just keep making Hamilton.
Yeah, I guess the other thing, when people are talking about why the Academy matters, like I do feel like music is, I feel like in many ways ahead of the film industry. And I feel like part of it is because people stopped giving a shit about the Grammys like a long time ago. Everyone's like, the Grammys, like, what? That doesn't matter anymore. But like the Oscars really are this like kind of gatekeeper for like, a lot of people do think like they actually tell you what the best movie of the year is. So stop giving a shit about the Oscars, everyone. Get out of here, everybody. That's pretty good. All right, thanks everybody. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Go Oscars.
Boy, that video was fun, huh? A lot of laughs to be had there. Dan was probably in it. A lot of good things happened. We all had a really good time together. Go ahead and go down to the comments and tell us the most intricate details of this video that was about dogs, I want to say. Or subscribe to our channel. Or share this video. Disseminate it as you see fit. If you didn't like it, maybe now's the time for quiet.